Hi everybody and welcome back to Hearthstone Global Games Week 7, and we're going to stay in Group A, but I've thrown Daskin off his chair, and now I'm going over to Dalconi.
Dalconi. I like it.
We'll go with that.
You're like shipping our own names together.
Yeah, something like that.
It's odd.
Merge you into two different Dans. So, how did you see this one coming up, Dan? We're going to have China versus Switzerland, a really big game for both.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of like, it's a horrible way of putting it, but it's like battle of the biggest loser for this group, isn't
Battle of the biggest losers. That's a sort of subtle phrase, yeah.
As we can now see by Group A, that these guys are in 6th and 5th place, respectively. If Switzerland lose this, they've got an 0-3 record. If China lose this, they've also got 3 losses. So.
Yeah, but what's important about these teams is their game record is okay. So if they do pick up a victory here, obviously Switzerland have only played twice. If they win here, they're going to be well in contention. They will be able to contend on tiebreakers. So nobody out of this group thanks to that massacre by Sweden a minute ago.
Yeah, I've been speaking to Ray just a few minutes ago while the last game was going on. I was just catching up with them because I mentioned before, I made quite a big thing about it. They struggle with communication these days.
Right.
Hearthstone Global Games is all about communication. And it's the whole... So, like, for those of you that didn't catch it before, 2 of the guys speak French, 2 of the guys speak German as their native tongue. So they communicate in English. But then Pekka doesn't speak English, so Bozo has to translate everything to him.
Wow.
And it's all a bit messy, and they know it's messy.
It's good job they've all got short names then.
Yeah, Bozo, Dark, Ray,
bit.
and Pekka. It's very easy for us to say as casters. I'll leave you to say China's names.
Okay, so Jason Zhou, Omega Zero, Lovely Chuk, and Nightwalk playing for China, and they will have no issues with communication. Those guys often in the same room, they play a lot of tournaments together, and they know each other incredibly well. The Chinese scene's a little bit like the Western scene was maybe 2 years ago. There's still a lot of invites, so a lot of people meet each other over and over again.
I know you're a big fan of this place
Yeah.
here on screen. It's surprising to me that there are so many LAN things, that they do get to come together so much, because I've always kind of pictured China as this massive place with so many people.
But they all live in the same place, not quite. I mean, that's the huge sweeping Western generalisation of the Chinese scene is a lot of the players live in the main cities. So there's 3 or 4 hotspots for Chinese Hearthstone. There probably are fewer players playing from outside those hotspots, but they get to see each other a lot, and there's a lot of money in Chinese Hearthstone. So these guys take advantage of that where possible.
Well, I'm excited to see how this game goes. I mean, we've kind of been in this position all day where all of the games have been at this point where if someone loses, then they're in a real rough spot. And we were talking about this just before we started today. If these guys lose, they're not out of the competition guaranteed, but they're in that awkward position where them qualifying sort of depends on what everyone else in the group does. Like, them just winning the rest of their games isn't enough from that point.
And actually, as it happens, if Sweden had lost that last game instead of won it, then this would have been a disqualification match, an elimination match.
Disqualification?
Yeah, we're not going to go around disqualifying teams. But yeah, it would have been an elimination match. But because Sweden won, then that brought Indonesia back to the pack. So now these guys are playing for a lot more than they thought they might be.
Yeah, we had the same thing earlier with Hungary. The correct team won, which closed the group up, rather than the other way around, which would have separated it. It would have left one team on 0-3, closed it up. And here we go, matchups for the Hearthstone Global Games format. I don't know if we've explained the format yet today.
No, so the format, basically, it's a best of 5. Sounds easy. You start off with a best of 4. You play 2 matches. You play 2 classes. You pick 1. And then if it is 2-all, we go to the ace match game, where each player has 2 classes remaining because they've added in the 9th class that hasn't been used. So basically, you're just picking, look at your opponent's match, look at your opponent's decks, using your own decks each time, and trying to mind games a series of best of 1s, basically.
Yeah, the mind games are pretty big when it comes to this format, and so is communication, as we mentioned before, which is why I'm going to keep going back to this. When we watched Finland playing before, we talked a lot about their communication and how they, like you said with the Chinese players, they talk to each other all the time. They play together all the time. They compete against each other all the time. But with Team Switzerland, it's not so easy. And again, speaking to Ray earlier, he was saying that sometimes with their team, it's more a case of the individual, the pilot, is really taking the reins.
Right.
Whereas we had with Denmark before, Inderen tweeted to me saying, "Hey, I wish there was a little bit less of an emphasis on the individuals because we play as a team."
Right.
With this team, it really is a case that they are individuals and the teammates are kind of looking over the shoulder and occasionally giving bits of...
That's a huge disadvantage when you're about to make a mistake and the guy who doesn't speak your language has to just squeak and hope you can work out what's going on.
So first game is going to be Omega Zero on the Paladin versus P.E.K.K.A. on the Shaman. Paladin versus Shaman. What a strange matchup.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of it. Basically, at the fundamental level, a lot of the stuff is the same. You have a hero power that makes a minion, which helps you get a wide board and stuff. But further on than that, it's a bit difficult to just pick it on the class because both decks can be built similarly in that they can both have an aggressive variant, a very controlling variant, or anything in between. But overall, I tend to favour the Shaman just because it has that little bit of early game removal that you can use. And
it also has that, I think, that little bit extra where it can just outvalue its opponent if they can get Spirit Echoes down at the right time. We saw that with a ridiculously value deck just a moment ago from Team Sweden, where there was Zoths and White Eyes and all that. And Shaman can do that. And Paladin, if it's the more control-y Paladin build versus the more control-y Shaman build, I'd have to give the value game edge to the Shaman.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I think I agree across the board as well. If it's the quicker Shaman, maybe not. But at all levels, if they're the equal speed, I think the Shaman's got the slight advantage.
Right.
And again, I think the Shaman also has the advantage if it's a very controlling variant and the Paladin is quick. Because they have just all that very, very early game removal with Devolve, with Maelstrom Portal and so on.
Right, it's all the board clears, right? Maelstrom Portals, Devolves, Volcanoes, Lightning Storms, missed the obvious one for a second there. Whereas Paladin have Consecration, and Primordial Drake, I guess, as well. But that's it, with their equalities. But they can't just use equality on its own. That's not removal.
And Consecration isn't so good because it costs 4. If you haven't got the board already, if you're in a position where you're clearing their board with it, they're just going to make another board the next turn. Whereas if you're sort of sneaking in a Maelstrom Portal, actually you can probably do something else as well. Jades.
Yeah, let's not speculate any longer. Here we go. It's going to be... How control-y is this deck going to be, Neil?
It's
so hard to tell.
Which one?
The Shaman.
So the Paladin is either mid or fast. The Shaman is going to be at least vaguely controlling, at least vaguely mid-range. It could be a bit longer with Spirit Echo, and you can choose to play it for even more value, so you can slow it down by choice as well.
I've given up trying to define Paladins, because we've seen Outdoor Peacekeeper from the Mulligan, and Equality, and Murloc Tidecooler, and I just get so many mixed messages from Paladin every time nowadays.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Just let it do its thing and see where it ends up. Because Tidecooler is becoming, or has become some time ago now, just a staple card in the class, even if you're playing a slower deck a lot of the time.
Yeah, Hydrologist as well. It can pretty much make it into any Paladin. It turns out, I never thought I'd say this, turns out Paladin secrets are just that good, where you can run a choose between in any Paladin deck.
Mistress of Mixtures.
Okay, I have no idea.
And they chose to keep the Hot Spring Guardian as well. The biggest clue there as to what we are watching is they chose to keep the Hot Spring Guardian, which is a very defensive card. And then obviously the Mistress of Mixtures just backs up that we're not going to die.
Yeah.
We're going to kill you later with Aya being Spirit Echoed, and we're going to kill you with Jade when we haven't died. So it's going to play a lot like Jade Druid, where you just go all hands on deck to not die, and then slowly but surely grind out the victory.
Sure. I mean, Mistress of Mixtures makes sense. Like, it was in a lot of Reno decks. Not in this meta so much, but as a one-drop, it's pretty good. Did you like Zombie Chow? I liked Zombie Chow.
Right, and Zombie Chow was in a meta where a lot of the minions were 2/2s or 2/3s themselves, so it traded on 3/2s. Now in a meta where a lot of early minions are 1/2s, and so Mistress of Mixtures has sort of been promoted to Zombie Chow, not quite to Zombie Chow status, because Zombie Chow was nuts, but she's definitely a little bit better now than maybe people give her credit for.
Pretty tough turn for Team Switzerland here. P.E.K.K.A. has to decide whether he wants to coin out the Stonehill Defender, coin out the Hot Spring Guardian, or just Hero Power Pass. I don't mind the idea of Stonehill Defender, because if it's going to just trade evenly with the Murloc Tide Hunter, Caller? Tidecooler.
Tidecooler, yeah.
That one's Tidecooler, yeah. If it's going to trade evenly with the Tidecooler, then that's probably okay.
I'm going with Caller. The problem with the Callers, by the way, is that most of the Callers call another minion.
Yeah.
So Void Walker doesn't, Void Caller does.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the Murlocs are backwards.
Right. He's going to go with the Stonehill Defender. I like this a lot. Not long to make the Discover choice, though. It's not obvious either. Okay.
Yeah, just take the bruiser and
Guess it is
probably
obvious.
play it for 5. I don't know. I mean, he would have just hit it really quickly. Yeah, it could have ended up being awkward, that could.
It makes a lot of sense against Paladin, and in fact, he's about to be rewarded for that pick. Although, I don't know if you can call this rewarded. That Rockpool Hunter has just turned that Murloc, the 1-mana Murloc, into a bit of a beast. Not a beast, it's still a Murloc, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. So their problem here is they want to devolve, but this devolve just doesn't really do much in terms of continuing the game. Basically, it just lets them keep hitting you and develop.
They might have
but
to.
if they don't devolve, they're going to get a Megasaur in the face, and a Megasaur in the face leaves you Megasaur.
Very good. That was very good. I really actually do quite like the devolve here because you're also leaving those minions alive, which means next turn you can just play second-rate bruiser, and they're going to have a bunch of 1/1s, maybe some 2/1s on the board, so it should be a little bit better.
Yeah, it doesn't halt your bruiser development. That's a really good point, actually.
So that was so good, Neil. I'm very impressed.
Okay. You say like I've never said something funny before.
I don't know. That one's up there. That one's up there.
See what they choose to do with this devolve or not. The only thing that will be putting them off is the mana efficiency, but it just looks like the best play. And we can see what's going to happen if they don't. They're going to probably lose.
It's going to be mana inefficient next turn as well because of the second-rate bruiser not being 4 mana.
Right.
Actually going to go with quite a risky play here. Taking the Sunwalker, now that can't have been an easy decision either.
I think they're just going for the thing they can play the soonest, because if you get to turn 6 play Sunwalker, it slows things down significantly, and we've seen this deck looks like it's built to last. So anything that just gets you into that late game where you can start making your Jades makes a lot of sense.
I just want to point out as well, Pekka, the guy that's currently playing, he's the guy that doesn't speak any English.
Right.
So
so he only has one teammate.
yeah, he has one teammate, and that one teammate has 2 other teammates.
Right.
It's just a complicated chain, but for that last Discover then, he would have just had to make a snap decision because there is no way that his team could have communicated to him which one to take.
Yeah, I mean, there's only like 5 seconds. Maybe that's why he's more comfortable roping, because he knows that he's just going to make the decision anyway.
Yeah.
And he's in a lot of trouble now, whatever China choose to take here.
Yeah, attack seems pretty good. Would allow a Rockpool Hunter to just tear through that Stonehill Defender. And then push a bunch of damage to the face. Death Rattle doesn't seem bad either.
Yeah, I wonder if China actually... Okay, they're going with Divine Shield. I thought they might not, because they've just seen there's no way for Switzerland to deal with the board.
Yeah.
And so I thought they might just take a chance and just buff all these guys up and start slapping you about.
Yeah, Divine Shield's not good against Volcano, so it's tough to work out what they're trying to play around, but what they were not playing around was Devolve, certainly.
Right.
So it turns out, if this Devolve does come down this turn, then by not picking attack, Omega Zero just wasted a bunch of damage.
Yeah, and also by not devolving last turn, Switzerland, I mean, it's not a fixed curve, it's still a bit of a mess. But at least they get to do it alongside a hero power.
Yeah.
At least they get something outside of their extra mana, which we were saying was a big problem. I like the way the Devolve has Murlocs all over the picture, because they are getting devolved into various assorted things.
So, the 2/1 Hunter card that, when it dies, it shuffles a 4/3, a 1-mana 4/3 into the deck.
Right, which is a downside.
Yeah, now, I don't remember who I played against the other day, but I used a Potion of Madness on the other minion and killed it. And my opponent messaged me and said, what, you don't want the 4/3?
Yeah,
and I said, no, I want it to clog up your deck.
The only thing is, with that play, maybe they've got the Tolvia Warden.
Right.
So maybe you want to take it to stop them from having it, but you don't want it.
No, I think his came from a card pack or something. It was one of those weird games.
Yeah, then you just clog his deck up, because a 4/3 for 1 on turn 10, when it's the only card in your hand,
may have been from a Maelstrom
is actually a 4/3 for 10.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's my view on it anyway.
I agree with you. Meanwhile, while we're talking about games past and present and future, we're missing the game that's on the screen, but nothing unexpected is happening. China just making a whole wide board of easy-to-kill minions, and there's no easy way for Switzerland to kill them.
Wouldn't a Maelstrom Portal have been good right about now?
It would be reasonable, as would a Lightning Storm.
I mean, Maelstrom Portal, second-rate Bruiser, Maelstrom Portal would have cleared almost everything and put a 4/5 on the board.
How do you feel about that final hero power? I think it's okay, but now actually, I mean, they can kill minions off themselves, because if Switzerland don't play a minion, then China don't care.
Oh, sure.
But they're filling their board up, which is sometimes a mistake, but I think it's okay here.
Yeah, what are you trying to play around by not?
Yeah,
playing it?
nothing.
That's
You just kill your minion off, don't you? And if like I say, if they don't kill any, you just hit them in the face for whatever that is.
It's most prominent when you're playing something like a Freeze Mage, where your board's full, you can't fit the Alexstrasza,
Sure.
or like Handlock, you couldn't fit your access onto the board.
Yeah.
But Omega Zero's got full health. I don't think he needs to worry about his board being like frozen on repeat.
Agree. Yeah.
So I don't mind it there at all.
And this is only turn 5. And to Switzerland, it probably feels like about turn 15 because all they've done for 5 turns is try to worry about how they don't die now and get to their next turn somehow.
Yeah, picks up a spell damage totem. Omega Zero is probably going to want to deal with that. And actually, Pekka's small-time bruiser, That's wrong. Second-rate bruiser might soak up some damage here.
Yeah, and then the Sunwalker might soak up some more afterwards, depending how Omega Zero chooses to use this equality.
Right. Is now the time to play it? It means you deal quite a bit more damage to the face. You can just trade the Wisp into the bruiser, put a 1/1 into the spell damage totem, and then push 10 damage. It's not bad.
Yeah, or they might not care because they can make another minion anyway with their hero power, and
Yeah, that's
actually
true.
the equality's not saving them much. And again, I was talking about this with Gaskin a little bit earlier. All the teams that are doing well are all the teams that are just willing to be that little bit more patient and greedy. So if you can possibly save your equality, you do. I mean, they've used up half their board, but it was a board of not very good minions.
Right.
This board is just as annoying as the starting board, if not more so.
Yeah.
Oops.
There's the Volcano, but is it good enough now? Overloading Pekka for 2 means he'll have 5 mana next turn. Sunwalker costs 6 mana.
He has also Hot Spring Guardian in hand, though, so next turn he could hero power Hot Spring.
I think...
Like, when do you get a better Volcano? Because you have no minions right now.
Yeah.
So if you wait until later, you'll probably have your own minions. So this might be the time, but you're right, it wastes some mana now, and then next turn it probably wastes a little bit as well.
So it's Volcano or Sunwalker, right?
Right, yes.
If he plays Sunwalker, what's the punish? Sunkeeper Tarim is a punish.
Yeah.
Equality is a punish.
Yeah.
How bad is Equality?
It's not too bad. How bad's Consecration? Just Consecration, not Equality. So they would just bump into it with a 3/3 and get on with their lives, maybe. Or even the 3/5 Kodo.
Yeah, they'd have to trade something as well, though, to pop the Divine Shield. So trade the 1/1.
Trade in the 1/3, hit it with a 3/5, Consecration. Maybe they're a bit scared of that as well.
Okay.
It's not a great play for China,
sure.
but it's just another play.
Goes for the safe option. Definitely the safe option.
The old safe in inverted commas option where sometimes dying isn't safe.
Oh, and that
Wow.
pickup off the top from Omega Zero. Okay, there's the Raptor. He's back. And actually, that's not bad here.
That's actually really funny. Yeah, now, when you get a 4/3 for 1 and it's cost you nothing and your hand is filled up, now it's a good card.
Yeah. Pekka's going to want a second Volcano pretty soon. Now, Hot Spring Guardian heals him up to 15, absorbs 4 damage.
Got 2 hexes in hand. You save 1 for Tyrion, you still got 1 left over.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't you just curate it when that happens, though?
God, that one, no, I'm not impressed with that one.
Damn it, I'm getting rated now. Or berated, one of the two. Okay, so the choices are Hot Spring Guardian and Hero Power, Hot Spring Guardian and Claws, or just Hex and Claws. Hex and Claws looks like it starts to develop some stuff to me.
You're right. I wasn't even considering that just yet, but Hex with Claws, it gives Pekka the board.
Yeah, and it's got you another Hex for later, and you've got to start making the Jades eventually. Like, at the moment, your sad little lack of Jades is kind of disturbing.
Right. Well, he agrees with you. Gonna play the Hex. Get rid of it. Oh, maybe he doesn't even bother getting rid of it. Depends if he wants to play around Tarim or not.
Yeah, the 1/1's facing it off quite nicely, but yeah, playing around Tarim is a pretty good idea as well.
But I imagine that there's a big 8-mana dude about to come down.
Yeah, and then they're going to have a real decision what to do with this Hex.
I'm wondering when Pekka is going to get the chance to play that Spirit Echo. Doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be played in 10 turns' time. And if he gets there, it'll just be a win condition. It'll be like, okay, we've won, now let's prove it. It's a way when I say win condition, I mean a way of proving that you've won the game.
Pretty good discover there. I don't mind picking up Primordial Drake at all. Sometimes that can be even better than Sunkeeper Tarium or Tyrion. It's definitely, it's like a legendary class, even if it's not actually a legendary minion. Redemption, Eye for an Eye Repentance, no Getaway Kodo, no Noble Sacrifice. They've got to be the most popular too. No, Getaway Kodo being number 1.
Yes.
I wonder, I guess it's just Repentance here. Sorry, Redemption here.
Yeah, it depends what they think they're going to draw. Like, if you go for the Redemption, you find your Tyrion later. It's a way of getting just an extra Divine Shield clogger. But you're the attacker in this game, and so it made it a lot harder.
There's the Lightning Storm at a very nice time. He can't quite fit it well into his curve, but he can play Hot Spring Guardian. Clear everything guaranteed? Yeah, he can, with his weapon and his minion.
Yeah, that'd be an option. So now he's got to decide, is there a way, I keep on about this being greedy. Can he be greedy? Is there a way he can do it without using the Lightning Storm and just wait for next turn? But no, just clear it up because they've nearly stabilized how they see it. We can see that actually there's double Primordial Drake and a bunch of Murlocs coming in and more stuff's going to happen. But from where Switzerland is at, they're going to start feeling fairly comfortable.
Unfortunately, the Storm rolled 2 on the Dino. So Pekka had to trade his 1/1 into it, which is a bit of a shame.
No die.
Dino, no.
Okay, so 8-8 or not?
8-8 or not to 8-8?
That is indeed the question.
So Rag Lightlord with Redemption doesn't seem too bad on Omega Zero's side.
It doesn't, right? But obviously they're gaining nothing for the healing aspect of it, but just having an 8-8 is interesting. They've seen 1 Hex.
This seems just as good.
Yeah, and it sets up the other one for next turn as well.
This one's also less likely to get hexed as well. I don't think Pekka can justify it. Like, maybe on the Rag Lightlord you could, but can you hex a 4-8 when you've already used one of your hexes?
Really, and that's what China are hoping. It's like, if you have got the second hex, you can hex this if you want.
And maybe this will bait it out because of the secret. If Pekka thinks that it's Getaway Kodo... Oh, it's not been played. Okay, interesting. I thought he would play it to bait out the hex.
But we do need to keep an eye on Switzerland here. They're close to stabilising with health. And also, they can get, if they feel like they need more health and more stuff, they can Spirit Echo now. I'm not saying they should or will, but they can just play the Jinyu, play Spirit Echo and say, okay, we've got days.
Right.
It's more likely they just play Sunwalker because there's no good way for that Sunwalker to be procced right now.
Yep, trying to think if there's any way that Omega Zero can remove the Sunwalker easily. We've seen 1 Outdoor Peacekeeper already. We've seen a Stampeding Kodo already. We've seen the beast that came from the Menagerie Warden. We've seen Noah qualities. I think Sunwalker's pretty safe. And again, I keep mentioning Sunkeeper Tarium because it's a card you really need to think about whenever
it's almost always a card that you have to think about. Yeah, exactly.
Sunwalker, not even that bad against Tarium.
Yeah, 3/3 Divine Shield. Seems all right. See what Pekka decides to do. He's pushed a lot of these turns to the limit, and like you say, with that communication issue, it's not a surprise.
Jinyu Water Speaker plus Spirit Echoes was probably a consideration, but the question is it high value enough?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to get some value later. The Jades are still 1/1s. They'd really like to just get even Aya and start to get some attacking options. And by attacking options, I mean minions that are going to help you trade, because at the moment they're just relying on their spells to get rid of the minions, and that doesn't work in the long term. It's okay to start off with.
Omega Zero trying to work out how he moves forward with this game. He's in complete control of it and doesn't want to lose that. Spike Ridge Steed could be worth considering, though there's a question of how all in he wants to go. Primordial Drake won't quite allow him to clear up the Sunwalker. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, the Sunwalker's just a really awkward shape for that Drake to do anything about, and I don't think they want to blow the Spike Steed, although they could expect there to be no Hex in hand, really. And yeah, they're just going for this, and if it heals, it's lovely, so, and it will.
Yeah, I think it's close to a 100% chance.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Like, unless the game
breaks. If
the internet dies, then then it's a 100%.
Close enough, yeah.
So now, the question is, does this Rag Lightlord bait out the Hex? It's sort of fine for P.E.K.K.A because we can see there's no Tyrion in hand, though there are so many Hex targets in this Paladin deck. Spike Rich Steed, that's probably a Hex target.
Yeah, and Tyrion. And the China's last 2 plays have all of the hallmarks of a bait. It's like, let's play the Drake, let's play the Light Lord, let's play the third big thing after you Hex.
Right.
So P.E.K.K.A will really, really want to not use this Hex if possible. I mean, Jade Lightning and trade seems all right. Obviously, he wants to keep this Harrison as long as he dare. He knows that the Rag's going to have to bump into the 4-5, but yeah. It just heals itself back up, which is a bit of a problem. And you're right, he baits out the Hex, and the Spirit Echo is going to come to play as well. He thinks this is a good enough board to buy him the time to get into the later game that he requires.
It's not horrible. Getting an extra Sunwalker, which used to be a pretty good card.
Right.
Getting an extra Jinyu Water Speaker, that's 6 more health. Suddenly, P.E.K.K.A's back up to 20 again when I think he was down to, what, 12 earlier? 10? Something like that. He's definitely clawed his way back into this game. The problem is that his hand is just so flimsy here.
Right, and Omega Zero's hand is actually just really good. That Murloc War Leader is sitting there waiting for his friends to turn up. And all the time, these big flying Drakes and Wicker Flame and Spike Ridge Steeds are all putting the pressure on, and while Switzerland are dealing with that pressure, Omega Zero is just saving up for another wave of Murlocs.
The irony of this situation is that P.E.K.K.A probably wants to see Tyrion sooner rather than later, as long as he has a way of removing it so that he can then Harrison Jones it and actually draw some cards from his deck. I guess a True Silver Champion would do the trick.
That's a very good point. He really needs those cards. And like you say, a True Silver will do, but the Tyrion would be awesome. But not now, because he can't actually deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome back a couple of turns ago when he could get the 3 cards, but now he's starting to yet again face pressure. And this is why this Murloc deck is so popular. It early looked like he was going to win the game early. Switzerland managed to stabilise in normal terms. And what's happened is China just still piling on the pressure.
Yeah, I don't know what it would take for P.E.K.K.A to come back at this stage. Both Hex is gone, Devolve is gone. How does he overcome Spike Rich Steed and Tyrion and Sunkeeper Tarim? Tarim won't be so bad because there should be another Volcano left in the deck, another Lightning Storm. As we're seeing Halazil, then it's obvious that P.E.K.K.A will be running as much of this removal as possible.
Right, well, slowly but surely, I mean, he's under no danger of dying, like, ever in the short term. Slowly but surely, he's building up his Jade army. It's only going to be a 2-2 next. But a card, specifically Aya, would just change it around. Make a 3-3 and a 5-3 that your opponent maybe has to deal with. And then possibly a second Spirit Echo, or possibly you just draw into another Jade Lightning. He can turn it around by having a run of Jade cards.
Right.
But it needs to be a run of Jade cards pretty soon.
Yeah, we're only on 2-2 at the moment. It's not that overwhelming.
It's not.
He needs Aya as soon as possible, really. Dealing with the Drake, pretty good, though. He's actually managed to get himself some board control. It's not going to last too long, but it's a start. And actually, P.E.K.K.A's hand is filling up.
Yeah, the bit that...
Oh.
Oh, dear.
Oh, boy.
There's some cards.
Now, Omega Zero's seen 2 Hexes. He's seen a Devolve.
Right.
I think not picking Tyrion would be crazy here. I guess with the board he's got, Tarim was worth considering, but Tyrion is just insane.
Yeah, he is just going to hit you for a bunch of damage, and he's going to be undealable with. And you see China there changing tack. They know they're not going to win this in the next 2 or 3 turns. And so just making this big, huge, wide board.
Oh, a second Devolve. Now,
that's the way of getting rid of Tyrion.
He has to hold on to this, right? Like, looking back, I can't help but wonder if he was a little bit preemptive by hexing the Curator. Felt like he didn't have much of a choice. He was about to get hit for 4 more damage. That's the problem. But now, I think P.E.K.K.A needs to hold on to this Devolve with everything he's got until a Tyrion comes down.
Yeah, I think the hex of the Curator wasn't that bad, just because I think it was hard to envisage how powerful Omega Zero's hand was at the time.
Right.
Again, this is where we have seen, though, the more patient teams that can possibly find another play have been doing well. But so maybe some of the other teams would have found a way not to play that hex.
Right. Now, he can't be considering the Devolve. The problem is that Murloc War Leader on its own is a huge threat. There's 3 taunts defending it, and it's spitting out a 3-2 every turn. Maybe he has to play it now after all of that about...
He'll be suspicious. He's just seen someone take a card from a Stonehill and then not play it with only 7 mana. So he's got a good idea what that means.
All right, well, Pekka's back up to full health almost, which is kind of crazy.
It is, but his hand has had to be empty to do it, and the Murlocs, just by overwhelming pressure, have forced Switzerland to be inefficient turn after turn, and that inefficiency is now showing in the hand sizes. Switzerland have healed themselves back up from 12, but they've had to, and that means those cards have been played inefficiently at the wrong time. Or not at the wrong times, but at times they didn't want to. I mean, a Spirit Echo's been played. You think that's a pretty efficient card, but the deck needs to get more from it than it did.
This Tarium pickup is just insane as well, due to the nature of how Sunkeeper Tarium and Murloc War Leader works together. If Omega Zero was to play Tarium right now, then all of his board would become 3/3s, except for the Hero Power Murloc, which would become, what's that, a 5/4? Yeah, it'd be a 5/4.
Pretty big promotion from his early days as a little Murloc, as a 1/1. Silverhand recruits wondering why they've been fired, and suddenly it's like, this is why?
Just role-playing Gentle Megasaur.
Yeah. I don't role-play. Sothel would tell me off if I ever role-played anything.
No, those Murlocs, they're role-playing.
Oh, they're role-playing Gentle Megasaur. Yeah, they are.
They've copied his stats.
They're not so gentle, though. They're whacking Switzerland in the face.
With that hammer.
With their little hammer.
Yeah.
It's kind of cute.
And that is Redemption. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Now this is probably a devolve, because you're turning 5/4s into 1/1s. I believe that they are 1-mana cards, the Murlocs.
I think they are. The tokens got adjusted a while back and I forgot, but yeah, you're right.
Because if they were 0-mana cards, nothing would have happened when they got devolved, and that would have been a problem for Pekka. But no, they were 1-mana cards.
Talking of problems for Pekka, like getting the Jade Spirit so late, these decks like to get the Jade Spirit early.
Where does Pekka's problems end this game?
Bottom right, buddy.
You said
That's where they end.
Talking of problems for Pekka, I think that this entire game has become a problem for Pekka and is drawing very quickly to its conclusion.
Yeah, don't see how he ever gets out of this. He'll probably just concede next turn. Unless he draws a way to actually straight up kill the Tyrion and draw 3 cards.
We were both sitting here saying, yeah, we think the we think the Shaman is favoured in this matchup.
It just didn't draw. I mean, if you draw that Jade Spirit and play it on turn 3 or 4, it can fight for the board so well and advance your Jades.
Right.
And he didn't. And yeah, now here they all come. That's the problem when you don't get them early. That's when they're going to come.
Golems.
It's probably enough to make him play 1 more turn, though.
Golems are not Pekka's best friend right now. They may be a girl's best friend, but they're not Pekka's best friend. I don't have the same rules about role-playing as you do, Neil.
I noticed. I noticed. It's fine. You can be Raven if you want.
What is Pekka even considering now? So
options, quit, leave, concede.
It just drops IO.
Now he's trying to work out, because that's how human nature is, what can I draw next turn? But when you're in this situation, because you only have 1 play, I guess the answer is draw it and find out. But he's using his time efficiently. It's giving the rest of his team time to work out as well.
Yeah, and he's not actually dead next turn. He's not dead on board. There is.
Do you proc the Divine Shield, or do you try and kill the 3/4, or start to kill the 3/4? That's another question. You proc the Divine Shield because you need cards, right?
Yep. I wasn't sure, so I let Pekka answer the question.
Oh my goodness.
just a consecration to go with the equality. Although Omega Zero already had a Primordial Drake to go with the equality if he needed it.
Yeah, I think just consecration. I mean, they may just do nothing. They may just keep all their cards, play Wicker Flame, or play a second Tyrion here.
So consecration, trade. The Jade's Golems are finally getting big, but they don't seem big enough.
They're just not. They're late to this party.
Now you're all playing Medivh the Guardian.
Wow. I am. Follow the rule. No, I'm not. I can't go with the role-playing ideas. Okay. China just being efficient. That's the word of the day. And there's not really much to say apart from let's watch them do this, I think.
There really isn't. It's got to that tough point of the game where, I mean, you can see the look on Pekka's face. He knows this game is over. He's just helplessly watching as it happens. There's nothing he can do about it. He can't let his team down by conceding early. But he knows.
Rubbing his hands together there, I think he's got an out. I think it was like, come on, let's get this Lightning Storm, or come on, let's get this whatever. Because
Get this Yogg.
So Lightning Storm, no, so actually, that would be a card. Hero Power into Wrath of Air Totem, into Lightning Storm, will leave you enough mana to play the Harrison if you could kill the Tyrion, but you're 1 attack short.
Yeah, even if you get 4 damage on the Lightning.
But without the Aldor, that would have been a play. So the Aldor actually makes sense because that was an out.
Okay. Wow. Very nicely done by Omega Zero then.
Let's go with that.
We can barely see his face as it's engulfed in shadow, but I'm sure that there's a little smile from him that we're about to see.
China take a 1-0 lead. In this really important match, the losers are going to be in a world of trouble. The winners are going to be back in this, effectively, this rat race for 2nd and 3rd place in this division that was blown wide open when Sweden won 3-0 earlier today against Indonesia.
Yeah, again, China currently 1 win and 2 losses. Switzerland currently don't yet have their first win. It's so important for both of them. But next up, it's going to be Jason Joe versus Bozo with the first Hunter we've seen today, I think.
First Hunter. And I said to you, and it's a shame that I said it off stream, but I did say I thought we might see some Hunter today. Question I want to ask you about Hunter, because I've done some stats like I do.
Is this a test?
This is a test.
Should I be
You
afraid?
will be tested on it later.
Can I fail?
You can definitely fail. But don't worry, I already have. How good is Fledgling in Hunter?
So I remember, now I haven't personally seen it myself
Right.
at all yet, but Raven mentioned, I think it was Raven mentioned last week that he's seen it a few times.
Yeah, it came up in HCT a few times.
Right, of course. I haven't seen it in game, but I think it should be quite good.
Would you keep it in your opening hand?
No,
You wouldn't.
but I get the feeling you're about to tell me that I
No,
should.
why wouldn't you keep it in your opening hand if it's such a powerful early card?
Because I don't have Innovate.
Right.
Hunter.
Correct answer. You win.
Hey!
So, Fledgling in your opening hand in Hunter is a 46% win rate, which means
that's
it's
not good.
costing you a lot. Obviously, in Druid, it's 53% combined with Innovate, which is 58%. So your Innovate really piles on the win rate, especially with the Fledgling. It's actually in Hunter significantly worse than it is in Druid.
Oh.
When you normalise it for the Druid deck's a slightly better deck in the first place.
It's the thing that Druids are good at doing, though. It's the reason that Felreave has seen play in Druid way back when, right? Big cards that have a great impact when played early are just very, very good in Druid because they are the class that has the potential to play these cards earlier than they should be allowed to play these cards.
Yeah, the whole point, I think it was Trump who some people sort of laughed at a little bit because his rating, I think, was 1 star for Fledgling because it dies easily. Turns out, in Hunter, you're right. It dies too easily. We're seeing it in a lot of decks, but the numbers say it's the 2nd worst card in your opening hand. I can't remember what the worst is, don't ask.
The 2nd worst
of your whole deck. It's the card you want the 2nd least, yeah.
Wow.
So it really is that poor in Hunter deck.
These Hunters aren't running Swamp King Dread then.
Wow. Swamp King Dread in your opening hand. They're not.
Next up, it is going to be the Hunter versus the Mage, though. And this is... typically, the Hunter's been favored against Mages, like with Freeze Mage, because they can just keep hero powering. There's the weird, odd cases where the Mage can then say, oh, Alex Strasser, it's fine, we win.
Right.
But I feel as though the faster the Mages are getting, the better the matchup is getting. And Secret Mage should be better than the Discover Mages against Hunter.
I think that's true. I think the old Hunter was just blasting the Discovers outside. I'm not sure. I think the Hunter's still got a decent chance, though, because your removal as the Mage becomes awkward. And a lot of the Mage, as we see it, is probably, we have to use that word a lot, unfortunately, it is probably a Secret Mage because of Counterspell, but that does end up in Discover Mage sometimes.
The overlap is just too much nowadays. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's probably not a Freeze Mage. It's probably not a Quest Mage. We know that much so far. And we also know that Galactic Crawler is not going to be the best tech for Team China there, as we see the remaining 3 players all grouped together. That's nice.
Still a beast. It's still a 2-3 for 2. That's the reason you can afford to run it.
Yeah. Looks like a pretty strong opening from China. It has to be said. Fiery Bat into Galactic Crawler into Animal Companion.
Yeah, Firebat also not always in these decks, so this looks like an aggressive build, possibly topping out at Tolvia rather than topping out at Savannah Highmane. That's definitely a thing that could happen here.
Right. As Bozo not in the best position himself. Turn 1, and there is no Mana Worm represented in his hand. He could coin out his hero power, which feels horrible. He could coin out Medivh's Valet without a secret on the board, which feels horrible.
Or he could do nothing because next turn he gets to coin into Kirin Tor into Counterspell, and even though that means turn 3 he would waste a mana by playing Medivh's Valet, it would probably still be there, and then you get a Crystal Runner on 4, and your curve is fixed. The only thing you need to do to totally fix the curve is to do nothing now and then draw Mana Worm off the top.
Yep, and I imagine that that is the conclusion that Bozo is going to come to. Taking his time, though, I imagine that he's listening to his teammates. Again, to those of you just joining us in the Hearthstone Global Games, don't forget, it is a team event. Team Switzerland, although it looks like there's just one person there, that one person really is 4 people.
Or in Switzerland's case, 2 and 2.
Or 2 and 2 with different languages, but...
Okay, Galactic Crawler, just playing as a River Croc, but it's still absolutely fine on curve. You just want to get stuff on the board. Obviously, it's not ideal, but it will do. And Switzerland now going to start doing the thing that Tempo Mage / Secret Mage does these days. Yes, they're different things, but they're interchangeable.
This is the comeback, especially if Animal Companion procs the counterspell. Scavenging Hyena might be worth playing instead because Jason Joe can play our Mirror Entity by dropping Alley Cat first. It would just give Bozo a 1/1 if it was Mirror.
Yep.
And then Scavenging Hyena can come down and get buffed. Pretty nice pickup there.
Yeah, and also they've lowered the range of secrets to let's never play Animal Companion.
On the flip side, now, because China did not play the Animal Companion, there is a certain 2-mana minion in Bozo's hand ready to go off.
Yeah, it's not going to do a whole lot, though. Firebat missing there is interesting. I wonder if China would have traded anyway, even if they wouldn't have been able to, so maybe they did it in the wrong order. And I think that's what the discussion is about there.
I think they should have been playing around Medivh's Valet, but didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing to play around. And I think that's the discussion China are having there. It's like, oh, actually, we should have tried to miss with the Firebat and trade in the 2/3 first.
Right.
If it hits, we can't trade the 2/3 in, and then the Hyena just gets killed, and then we probably run out of win conditions.
Speaking of the Hyena, it's now an 8/5, and next turn it's likely to become an 8/5 with Wind Fury. How does...
Flyena?
Flyena. How does Bozo come back from this? Genuinely.
Quickly.
So Medivh's Valet to get rid of the Houndmaster.
Yep.
Put Sorcerer's Apprentice on the board, but then Alley Cat and Tabby Cat just trade into the 2-mana minions and buff up the Hyena even more.
Yeah, but they're going to assume that it is a block.
Yeah.
So they'll try and play around that, like hitting you for 16 when you're on 16 might be bad, but they'll find a way.
They kind of have to continue to assume it's both.
Sure. Yeah.
Though I don't think they've got any reason to suspect that it's Secret Mage over Discover Mage. Like, they haven't seen any...
Of course,
oh, no, they've seen the
Kyoto
Mage. My bad, yeah, they have.
But yeah, again, Switzerland are in this position where even if they do survive, and like you say, it's hard to see how they're going to, then they're just going to die in 2 or 3 turns. This Hunter deck will keep coming at them.
It's turn 4, going into turn 5, and look at China's board and their damage.
Yeah? I'm just saying, yeah.
Is Crackling Razor
flying Hyena is just going to be ridiculous.
Is Crackling Razor more even lethal without Wind Fury ever? Like, if it gains attack, what's that?
So the Hyena is going to be
14. It is.
14.
It will be with the hero power. Oh, now it's definitely lethal.
Except that's counterspell, remember?
Oh, yeah. So Crackling Razor buffs the Hyena to 11, trades in both minions. That makes the Hyena 15, hero power is 17.
Nice. So you've got 2 chances at it, which is really good. It's like 58% or something.
Yeah.
7 plus 6. 7 times 6 is 40. So yeah, 58% chance of getting the one he wants. Wind Fury or
attack. The problem that you mentioned is that they're going to be expecting it to be Ice Block, and now only Wind Fury is lethal. So we may have a potential miss lethal, although it's not quite as straightforward as that, because they had to play around the most things, and they were playing around Ice Block there.
And this board is still full of things that are going to cause problems.
Here we go. Gonna go with stealth and... Oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes
still
sense.
do it.
That was very clever. That is... I would have straight up made a mistake there and played the Crackling Razor more first.
Yeah, it's really important in these situations to attack first, obviously, for that eventuality. If you have to take the stealth, then the Wind Fury will still function.
If attack... Oh, okay. If attack would have been important as well, then sure, you do the buff first. But it turns out attack nor Wind Fury came up. So there was no way that China had lethal. They played it expertly. As we see the next player getting ready to play his game.
Just casually swapping seats there. And it's such a help to be able to just talk to your friends in the same room like I do with people that I meet, like yourself.
You're talking to me in the same room?
Yeah, it helps so much.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, though. It's the kind of thing that you don't tend to get in Hearthstone. Me and Dan were talking earlier about how much fun it is to play Hearthstone with friends. Like, genuinely, some of my best memories from when I started playing Hearthstone was playing it together with friends, doing arena runs and talking through every play. And it's something that you don't get often with online games, but it's something that Hearthstone does a great job of pushing. As we move on to our next game, it's going to be Lovely Chook versus Ray, and it's going to be a priest off.
A priest off indeed, and I'm pretty sure that you'll have a little bit to say about this, having priested quite a bit recently. How does this mirror match work out? Let's tell us about the two potential matchups.
It's just going to be Silence Priest now. Like, we've built up how I've been playing Dragon Priest all over the last few days. Now it's just going to be Silence Priest like it was earlier. No, I think that the Silence Priest is favored against the Dragon Priest slightly, because Dragon Priest can just continue to use removal over and over again. But the problem is with the Silence Priest, they could just leave their minions on 4 attack until they have lethal.
Right.
They can just, like, play a 4/5, then play a 4/8, and then wait, and wait, and wait, and then Purify, Divine Spirit, and a Fire go.
Yeah. Turns out that 420s are really difficult for Priest to remove.
Yeah, 420s are, yeah. And then it turns out that 2020s are very good at just winning the game in one turn.
Yep.
So Shadow of Death.
Hindsight's always 2020 though, so maybe they can sort that out.
And the really scary thing is that, like, yeah, okay, the Dragon Priest can play Primordial Drake or a Taunt, but then the Silence Priest will just say, okay, silence, attack face.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, and if it's Dragon versus Dragon, does it just drag on?
Oh my goodness. I'm out. This is one. How many can you come up with in one series?
I
Neil?
don't know. We should stop before I hurt somebody.
If it's Dragon Priest versus Dragon Priest, it genuinely can become a fatigue game.
Right.
It turns into a value thing, and that's where at least the Trailblazer and Shadow Visions really becomes important, where the guys want to pick up as much value as possible. Ray's outside. He's playing Hearthstone outside. What is this?
I don't blame you. It's a lovely day out there. It looks a bit windy though.
Probably a nice breeze.
Not Wind Fury.
We've not seen much Wind Fury. Oh my goodness.
So Ray, who I've just circled instead of
I need a break.
Can somebody rescue Dan, please? I think it's call for help. Ray looks pretty chilled there though. Looks really nice out there in Switzerland.
Yeah, it does.
It would just be the video next year. There's Ray chilling outside in Switzerland. Hey, look at me playing Hearthstone.
Well, when he's back on the Global Games next year, and there's like flashbacks.
With the cut from the champions where they actually turn this game around.
Well, they absolutely need to. They're 0-2 in the Hearthstone Global Games. They're 0-2 in this series. Lots of 0-2s for Team Switzerland.
Yeah, but 0-2, I mean, it's bad. Obviously, it's as bad as you can do. But it means you've got 3 matches left. Now, they've got to sort this out to go to 1-2. It's a long way back. But having 3 matches left is something that a lot of these teams haven't got. You're looking at the league table teams that are 1-3, and they're really in trouble.
I think you'll find that actually 0-5 is the worst that you can do.
Sure, but not after 2 games.
No.
Sure.
Well, as it happens, it is going to be a Silence Priest mirror. I called it correctly. I thought I was being so smart after last week. I'm like, there's a lot of Dragon Priests. I'm going to go and research this. Well,
it's good, man.
Never mind.
At least it gave you something to pretend to talk about.
But yeah,
Silence Priest versus Silence Priest. It feels really complicated because everybody keeps their silences for their opponent's minions.
Oh, it's a very strange matchup. One where you don't necessarily want to draw the Divine Spirits and Inner Fires early either. You kind of want to get as many Divine Spirits from Shadow Visions as possible. Right. So actually, Ray is going to be at a slight disadvantage there for picking it up. And this may be the first time I've seen BM like this in the Hearthstone Global Games.
Some greetings being fired out by China. They're just saying hello. Thank you. There we go.
Oh, Ray. Oh, Ray, please.
And as you say, it's going to be about who can find a way to either kill their opponent really quickly or find a way to stop those 4 attack minions just sticking to the board. And there isn't really a way. That's the problem.
Both players start out with a humongous Razor Leaf, so it really is going to be just this race to see who can get the big minions really fast. And I think, based on the opening hand, although I called it a disadvantage before, I think Ray wins the race because he's got Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, and Tark Reaper. And in this matchup, unlike the Dragon Priest, Silence Priests don't tend to run Shadow or Death.
Right.
So it's okay to buff up your minions. Though there is still the threat of silence. Oh my goodness.
And China just said, you know what? You can't make that into a 432 if it's dead.
Yeah.
And so they kill it off, and sort of first blood there goes to China.
Playing this matchup quite strangely, though, it looks like it's going to pay off, as there's nothing that Ray can do about this.
And even if there was, it would have allowed China to...
He can inner fire it back to a 4/4. That's about the best he can do, but that's a huge waste of one of the most valuable cards in the deck.
Oh my god, I'm so scared. If that's how the game's going to be, where you're just sitting there using all of your cards on your opponent's cards to make them worse, even though they make your cards better, I'm not sure I'm going to understand it.
The game is going to become first person to draw Lyra if that happens.
Yeah, and it might become that anyway, and that definitely favours China, because they're probably going to get some healing out of this. No obvious way at the moment that Ray can kill off a Northshire Cleric, so Northshire Cleric into just heal up my Razor Leaf, but don't worry.
Okay.
Anything you can do, we can do nearly as well.
Gonna become a 7/5. Now, if this minion got silenced, it would not be feeling good. So that's risky, and Lovely Chook is actually able to play Shadow Visions and probably grab a silence if he wants to. It depends on how he sees this game. If he sees it as a tempo game, where he just wants to just hold his board, which is quite likely. He's got a Faceless Shambler in hand. If he can hold the board, he probably wins.
Right.
I'm talking myself into liking this play more and more.
So with that in mind, do you Shadow Visions before you North? Oh, you don't North because you haven't got enough mana. Okay.
Yeah, you have to just Shadow Visions. Maybe you play it just... Well, the problem with playing it is that it's then susceptible to Potion of Madness. Okay, this is fine too.
2 8/4s, both of which can attack. This one clears the board and leaves the other one to just chill.
Mentioned Lyra, but that's not sticking around.
Not now, but that allows Switzerland to keep back the Power Word Shield, maybe the Divine Shield, the Divine Spirit, and set up for maybe turn 8, turn 9 for a bit of a Lyra turn.
Again, you mentioned this earlier. I'm just going to bring it up again now. Imagine if there was a silence in Ray's hand.
Right.
That would be a 1/1.
Would be a 1/1.
Which is, it's pretty crazy how on both sides, like both players have wanted silence and neither has been able to play it. Is Ray going to have to just drop Lyra and just sacrifice it? That feels so bad.
I feel like that can be right, given that next turn you can play Lyra even with just a Power Word Shield.
Yeah.
2 cards seems so much better. I mean, he's not dead to 8 damage. He is dead to 32 damage, but can't do that because that's not how Divine Spirit works. You buff the health and then you match it.
Right.
So the fact it's an 8/4 is actually a really bad shape for China. And I think that Switzerland will probably just do nothing or play a Talon Priest here.
I don't mind Talon Priest. I guess he wants to save it for an Ancient Watcher or something. Yeah, he's just gonna hero power.
And it just gets eaten up and doesn't really make any progress.
Well, yeah, that's true. And there's Lovely Chook picks up the silence that Ray really, really wants. If Lovely Chook didn't develop any further this turn, and Ray picked up silence next turn, Ray could actually go Lyra, silence, powered shield, go.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Holy Nova is not a card commonly seen in silence.
It's not. I guess because it heals up your own minions as well. It's significantly better than this than say Dragon Priest, where your minions are either alive or dead.
Right.
Where this, you've got an 8. If you want to try and make that extra bit of a push, and one of the common ways to beat this deck from most other decks is just to keep running your minions into their guys.
Yep.
If you can heal it up for 2 and wipe out their board, it's probably a good deal.
Okay, Ray needs the card silence. Doesn't get it.
Still could. He's got 2 more goes at it in a way because he can Lyra and Power Word Shield. He can get a random one or a real one.
He might have to. He might actually have to. Now, it looks like he's just going to go for 1 draw instead. Play the Power Word Shield.
Yeah, he's not dead in many worlds. Remember that one of the Divine Spirits has gone. Oh, no,
Wrong one! That is the wrong silence.
Ouch.
No Shadow Visions picked up from Ray either. This is a disaster.
Yeah, China on the verge of victory at 2-0 and looking good at the moment just by tempoing this out. Right away from that early play where they just decided to trade Razor Leaf into Razor Leaf by buffing their own one up and almost throwing away the long game to some extent.
Right.
And it's just put so much pressure on Ray that he's having to use his cards incredibly inefficiently.
It's so hard for him to come back from this. Again, can't stress this enough. The card silence would turn that 8/7 into a 1/1. essentially completely flipping the game on its head. But it's just not happening. So Rage is going to make his 3-6 as big as possible by the looks of it.
Yeah, that gives him outs. That gives him inner fire outs next turn.
Yep.
It also gives him probably shadow visions out. It's still got the silence out. He definitely has ways out here if he isn't dead. And we can see there's no real reason he should be dead this turn.
No. No, he shouldn't.
Lovely Chook might silence this. He might just feel that this is a bit scary. He doesn't know that Ray's playing to his outs. He thinks it might be in Ray's hand already.
Going straight for that. Going to drop Northshire Cleric as well. Risky thing about Northshire Cleric in this matchup, again, it's the Potion of Madness. I realized the more I watched this game, you kind of want to play Potion of Madness as soon as possible because there's only really Acolyte of Pain, Radiant Elemental, and Northshire Cleric that you get to use it on. It's hard to find a good time to play that card.
They get their own Lyra as well.
Yeah, that's...
Now, China. And look at their hand that goes with Lyra.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy to drop at some time soon.
And the only card that Ray's got to play with Lyra is Purify. That's not really how things work around here.
Ray does not look like a man who is having a good time at the moment. There's the Shadow Visions, finally! So he could play Lyra, grab Silence from Shadow Visions, though you could argue that's a bit of a waste of Lyra.
The other side, yeah, it's waste of Lyra or die, though, so got to waste it. Look at the other side. Look how Lovely Chew did drop the Radiant Elemental ready for his Lyra here. So Switzerland going to have a pretty poor Lyra most of the time. That's good.
Yeah, it was pretty unlikely that he didn't get it, I think.
But the problem is that China have been mana efficient with their Radiant Elemental. And unless I can pull another Silence, it looks like China are just going to go absolutely nuts with Lyra next turn.
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly what he needs, yeah.
I think you just play the 1-1 here, right?
Yeah.
The Forbidden Shaping never saves you.
For sure, no, you just play it as a 1-1. Oh, okay.
Oh, he's going to go for an 8-8 and go for something crazy.
So.
Sharp intake of breath there from my left. Dan.
We start off with Lyra. We play Powered Shield. Is he going to try and go for lethal now? Because he could pick up an Inner Fire at some point. And
so you Power Shield first and see what you get.
That's what I mean. Do you shield the Cabal Talon Priest?
Yes.
Or do you shield the Lyra?
Is there any breakpoint numbers? How do we get to 20? Most likely is 24.
Yeah, that works. Double Inner Fire is still lethal here. I think that's probably the correct card to buff.
20 being a number here.
Oh my goodness.
There's some stuff happening, guys.
So he just needs to get Inner Fire from one of these Lyra procs.
Yep.
But does he... But is that how you play the game, though? Do you just put them both on the Radiant Elemental and hope for the best? Not long to decide.
I think you do. If you don't know what to do, I think you do it. It might be wrong, but I think you've got to make a decision.
He's not doing it. You can't play Lyra and then sit there and do nothing. He might get a bunch of 0-mana spells now.
Free from Amber will be handy, the way they've played this game, actually.
Wait, okay. Not the most insane Lyra I've seen.
No.
But it doesn't really matter too much.
Exactly. It's making things just really difficult for Switzerland, who can buy some time with this healing potion. But having used up their Lyra, there's not an Elise in sight. Would there be an Elise somewhere? Probably not.
No, not in this deck. I think Ray probably has to play Forbidden Shaping this turn. He's not dead on board to Greater Healing Potion. Sorry, to Greater.
8's a good number as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. It used to be the best. Not sure how that works since the latest standard rotation. Right. There's no Ragnaros anymore. Well, there is a Ragnaros, but not the Ragnaros.
Not the Ragnaros. Right, Ragnaros.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not dead on board.
And he can't fight board very easily.
I mean, if he plays Greater Healing Potion, he's just stalling. That's the problem.
I mean, you can shape him for 4, but 4 doesn't have anything that I can think of that's going to help him out.
No.
And you can go for Abomination on 5 by playing the Talon Priest. It doesn't really do much, though. Yeah. So why would you? He's got to pick a card in his head and saying, I want that card.
Can I go 5?
Maybe he's going for the A-bomb here.
Greetings.
Red Mana Worm makes life interesting.
Well, China does have to deal with it.
Right, you have to kill it. It's a deck full of spells.
Oh, or do that.
Or win with.
Oh no, this is just disgusting.
GG, I'm pretty sure.
With Lyra, yeah, I don't think that Lovely Chook even needs to use Inner Fire here. He can just play spell after spell after spell and buff it and then attack with it. This is devastating for Ray and, by extension, Team Switzerland. Look at this.
China keeping themselves in contention. Switzerland dropping to 0-3.
Ray's seen enough.
He's seen enough of all that nonsense. He doesn't want to die to a 1,000,006 mana worm. And China continuing their comeback, I guess. They have been busy. They've been playing below par, I think, in this tournament to date because of how busy they've been. But yeah, back to 2-2 and still resets if they get through to the next phase and still in with a great chance of winning the title.
Lovely Chuk asking himself, asking his team, asking everyone, who needs Inner Fire? I just Potion of Madness that red mana worm and make it a 26? 26? Have 6 health?
It does have 6 health, yep.
Just make it a 26 without Inner Fires.
And that game went back to the Razor Leaf sort of face-off right at the start, where Chinese went, kill your Razor Leaf, we've got ours, can you deal with it? And the answer was yes. 6 turns and 5 cards later.
One of the key issues in that game as well was the fact that Ray did not pick up a Shadow Visions until a little bit too late, until that Lyra turn. A Shadow Visions early would have allowed him to grab a Silence when he needed it, get rid of that Faceless Shambler immediately. And that may have changed the pace of the game. He'd have avoided a lot of damage that way.
Yeah, he just managed to get through those turns and survive. And yeah, they just couldn't deal with the 8-4. It just wasn't a thing they could do with deal with it. And turns out that if your opponent can't deal with an 8-4, you do pretty well.
Yeah, it's funny
how that works.
8-4s are pretty strong on, what, turn 3, turn 4 in Hearthstone?
Yeah, so no messing around trying to win with the combo, anything like that. Just using their cards, like jiggling about and making them do different things to usual.
It's such a weird deck. In fact, I think it's the deck that's capable of winning the fastest as well. Like throughout Hearthstone's history, people have been like, asking each other, what's the fastest you can possibly win the game? And I think back in the old days, it was the 1-mana Shaman card with the 3-1 with Wind Fury.
Oh, Dust Devil?
Dust Devil, that's the one. Very nice. So back then it was that, and now it's like on turn 2, or on turn 1, it's Coin Out Radiant Elemental, and then I saw something, I think it was on Reddit literally yesterday or today, where someone won on turn 2 with that deck, which is just crazy. Actually, not one because their opponent conceded, one because they had lethal.
That's actually ridiculous. There was a turn 3 kill a while ago, but I can't remember how it occurred with Whirling Zapomatic.
Oh, yeah, right.
Otherwise known as Wee.
No, I don't remember exactly how this worked. It was turn 1 Coin, Radiant Elemental, Powered Shield.
Oh, okay.
And then I think it was Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, Potion of Madness to take the Shielded Minibot, and then that was 30 damage exactly.
That's just disgusting.
Yeah, it was gross.
All right, going back through the games for that quick win there, and this was just over the second that they managed to buff this. Just point out, if that Fiery Bat had hit the minion and they wouldn't have been able to trade in their Crawler, then the Hyena would have been stuck at 8-3 or 6-3, would have been shot down and by the Valet, and that would have been a totally different game. So it was a mistake there from China.
It was.
When they attacked him with the Fiery Bat, most likely.
But it's a mistake that paid off in the end because the Fiery Bat didn't make the trade for Lovely Chew.
And just watching Ray's reaction here, by the way, he knew it was over as soon as that happened. He threw himself back in his chair, was like, yeah, okay, I'm in trouble here. Right away after that trade. So
a completely dominating performance, I think it's safe to say, from Team China there, with a very fast 3-0. We just saw a 3-0 from Team Sweden, right? The previous series. So unlike last week, where if I recall, day 1 was a day full of 3-2s all going to the ace match, we're yet to have one go to the last round just yet. The teams, well, Team China and Team Sweden just specifically wanting to show what they've got.
That was another thing that went in China's favour in that mirror. They did get the silence first. Switzerland were trying to draw it for several turns just to slow things down. Never really got it, but China used the early snowball to their advantage really well. Nothing really that Switzerland could have done about this game, I feel.
What's funny was that I said earlier how bad Potion of Madness is in this matchup, and then it just did that. I didn't say it was bad. It can be pretty good if they can Potion of Madness.
You said it was limited options, and one of those limited options is steal a thing that was made from a thing.
Yeah, like if you take an Acolyte, you're feeling good about it. If you take a Cleric and heal something and draw a card, you're feeling good about it. If you take a red Mana Worm and win the game with it, you're probably feeling pretty good about that as well.
Yeah, probably one that Switzerland will just want to forget, to be honest. All 3 of those games just did not go their way. But finally finished with Group A for the day. Let's have a look at Group A. as it stands after all those changes, and we can see it is just a 5-way race to the finishing line. China play Indonesia in their final match. You can see that is basically a qualifying match.
Right.
Not quite, but near as damn it a qualifying match.
Yeah.
Brazil, pretty much the wild cards in this group. They still have to play Switzerland, which gives them a good chance to go into 3. But they've also got to play Bulgaria. So Brazil are in an interesting spot there.
Brazil versus Bulgaria, that will be an interesting game. Pretty much to decide the winner of the group, or almost.
Right,
anyway.
and Sweden still have to play Switzerland. Now, I don't want to be too harsh on Switzerland. There wasn't much they could have done in a couple of those games, but Sweden would be big favourites for that one. And so there's still 5 teams capable of getting to 3, and we could end up with a big 4-way tie for 3 there. So that's Group A all tidied up. But one of your favourite groups, Group B, coming up soon. It's going to be the UK versus Thailand. We're going to have an Italian and American commentating on it, and we'll see you after this.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.